What's up, everybody? We are back again, and as we can see, the national debt is steadily climbing up. We're almost at 35.7 trillion. Let's take a look and see where we were at last week. Last week we were at 35.68, and we're at 35.699. So we're up 19 billion in a week. Money printer goes burr, and it ain't stopping, it ain't slowing down. It's crazy how they can print money for everything else, but when we have disasters that go on within our own country, that all of a sudden there's not enough money. So it's very interesting how that works, and the dollar debasement is continually happening. Let's take a look at Bitcoin price. Right now we're at 62,600. Last week we were at 62,480. At the time that I wrote the numbers in, it was at 62,660, so it's down a little bit, but we're up about 200 in the week. If we take a look at market cap, we're at 1.24 trillion, still sticking strong in that number 10 spot. So like I said, we're once things get going, we're gonna leapfrog. So like I said, we'll just keep paying attention to that. If we get to nodes, reachable nodes and Tor nodes, we've been at 31,000 holding strong for quite a bit. We've been there for about a month and a half, couple months now. We've been hovering between 30,000 and 31,000. RSI last week we were at 52. This week we're at 53. We found some good support at the 50-day moving average. We bounced off of that around the beginning of October, pushed up back to the 200-day moving average. That acted as resistance, fell back down to the 50-day. It acted as support again. And then right now we're seeing some good resistance here on the 200-day moving average. And RSI is sitting at 50. So as we can see, MACD is looking like it's trying to cross over and head up. RSI is sitting at a good spot. Price is sitting at a good spot for us to kind of go ahead and move up higher. As we can see, we got some good resistance at about 65,000. And then our next level of resistance is about 70,000. And then we have some really strong resistance at 72,500. So we'll see what happens in these next few days. Like I said, we got the election coming up and all that goodness. Some recent news as of lately, Mt. Gox postponed repayments deadline. They're moving it out to next year. I got some notes on that down here. So they postponed its repayments deadline to creditors by 1 year. It's now scheduled for October 31st of 2025. With several creditors have already received early payments, unresolved claims have caused the delay. The platform still holds 44,000 Bitcoin, valued at 2.7 billion. So it's easing some concerns of a rapid Bitcoin sell-off. So we'll keep our eyes out on that, see what continues to happen. Over the past few days, Bitcoin Amsterdam happened. I really want to go check this out. I was definitely looking forward to hearing what Jack Mallers had to say. So you can go on YouTube and find this from, the speakers that were out there, see what they had to say. I haven't had a chance to dive into it yet, but I will here pretty soon. The National Bank of Bahrain rolls out its first Bitcoin investment fund. I think I have some notes on that as well. No, I didn't put any notes on that. So pretty much this fund is going to be made up of a lot of those big players over in the Middle East, Kuwait, Bahrain, Qatar, Saudi Arabia, Oman, and then the UAE. Combined, they have a pretty high GDP over there, over $1 trillion in funds. So we'll see what comes from that. Some other news, not necessarily news, but a good article that was pretty good was Asian Bitcoiners are profit maximalists. So this article kind of dives into the differences people over on the East versus people on the West, right? They say people on the West, people United States, Canada, South America, and then people on the East over in the Asian region. So this article goes into how they see Bitcoin, how they're using Bitcoin is a little bit different than how Westerners are using Bitcoin. So it's a pretty short read. Go give it a look and see what you think. If we take a look at the fear and greed index, we've been hovering at neutral. Like I said, there's, a good correlation between the RSI and the fear and greed. So when we were dipping low, then that's when the fear and greed was kind of going to fear. And now we're kind of moving back up. We're above the 50 RSI. It's back to kind of neutral. So we had dipped below 50 and the fear and greed was heading towards fear. And now we're heading up. And so as price continues to go up, if we reach closer to a 70 RSI, this will bounce between neutral and greed. And then once we get overbought, then I'm sure we'll see extreme greed. So those kind of play off of each other. If we look at some mining costs, it's went back up to 80,000. Like I said in the last video, the mining cost has been fluctuating pretty much between 70,000 and 80,000. So right now it's up to 80,000. Last week we're down to 71,000. So it's up 9,000 and still tracking to see if that correlation between average mining cost versus Bitcoin price, if it holds true to previous data. So before, when average mining costs exceeds Bitcoin price, it typically, the longest that I've seen on here was about 6 to 9 months. So November, December timeframe will be that 9-month range. And then, like I said, with the elections coming up and things like that, we'll continue to track and see where we go. As price continues to kind of hold steady and, we're up a little bit, we've seen some more flows going into Bitcoin ETF holdings. Compared to last week, we were at 92,000 or 924,849. This week we're at 930,000, so 6,000 more inflows going into the ETFs. If we take a look at hash rate for the previous 7 days, like I said, we've been pretty much fluctuating between high fours, like 490, low fives, into the high sevens, low sevens. So if we look at the previous 6 months, we'll say, you can see that's kind of the range that we've been holding off on. And then if we expand it out and go a little bit further out, look at 3 years, and we've been on the steady incline. So that's good. The system is getting stronger. More people are getting into mining, especially with the ease of the BitX miners and things like that. More people are getting involved in the network side of Bitcoin, which is, I think, a great thing. It's just making the system stronger. And I believe everyone should dive into the network side of Bitcoin as well. And if we take a look at my DCA journey, I forgot to do the numbers last week. So I'm doing $100 every week just to show what the power of DCA and dollar cost averaging into Bitcoin. Like I said, everyone can do whatever they can do. Some people might only be able to do $5. Some people might be able to do 5,000 or 5 million. I'm just using $100 as a steady number just to show the power of what it can do. So before I started doing auto dollar cost averaging, I use Strike as an exchange. I like what Jack Mallers and those guys are doing over there. I like what they're about, so I use them. But there's other good exchanges out there. When you do auto DCA with them, they waive your fee. So the 0 right here is, when I first was doing it, I was having a fee because I was just doing it. And then I was like, you know what, let me just do a true DCA and let it ride. So these are all the prices that I got in at. This is how much Bitcoin I've accumulated so far. Started in July, and as of last Monday, tomorrow I'll have another DCA because today is Sunday. I've contributed 11,000 or 1,100 USD. I've accumulated this amount of Bitcoin at this price. At the time of recording, this total is worth $1,139. So it's up about 3.5%, which is good. So I haven't had to do anything but get the money and contribute the money. A read recommendation, The Art of Unix Programming. So it's ideals of decentralization, transparency, simplicity, and user empowerment. It was a good short read, came out in 2003. So there's a lot of similarities in that between Bitcoin and this Unix programming. Go check that out. And I'm still reading Gradually Then Suddenly. It's picking up momentum. It's getting good. I started the Laws of Human Nature for audiobook. The last audiobook that I finished was Thinking in Bets, which was great. And I've read Laws of Human Nature before, and I'm kind of going through it again and seeing if I take anything away from it this go around. And I'm not sure if I'm going to start another one in the process. Some things going on in the Bitcoin space for September. Public miners mined 3,249 Bitcoin, and they've sold 2,267, which is up from what was sold in August. They sold 1,469 Bitcoin. Cipher sold the most Bitcoin. They sold 923, and they're using the funds for its acquisition of a new site to expand operations. So it seems like a lot of miners are expanding operations, which is great. And with price consolidating, like I said, we've been here in a good consolidation since about March, I would say. So we had this dip down here to the 49,000 that one time, but for the most part, this is a pretty big consolidation phase. As you see, we were slowly rising up, took a little dip, and then we had a good rise up, and then we hit a ceiling. And then we just been kind of consolidating around this price. So it's been a good consolidation between 72,000 and 50,000, I would say, for the most part. So we'll see what's to come from that, and just update on other things that I had going on. I haven't really been focusing too much on my Fold and Fountain. Like I said, I've been watching more on YouTube, only for the simple fact that Fountain doesn't show the videos, and a lot of the videos that I watch, they show graphs and links and things like that. So I like to see visually what they're talking about. And having picked back up with Sailor Academy, Node's still running, and I'm making progress on being able to send Bitcoin through radio frequencies. I've reached out to a couple people online that I've seen that have done it. They've kind of given me a nice little blueprint. And so once I get back to the States here, probably in about a month or so, I'll be able to get everything I need and then go ahead and start that process and try that out. So I'm excited to get that going and just keeping things moving. So appreciate anyone that's tapped in. If you have any questions or if there's anything you want me to talk about next week, go ahead and drop it below in the comments. Other than that, that's all I got, and I'll see you guys next